Well, hey everybody, John Retlin here, and this is a real honest rant about the Raw reunion show. This is called Flashbacks and Setbacks because there were a whole lot of the latter and a lot of the former. Because this show is pretty much a dismal failure. Now, it'll probably get some big ratings. It was the whole point why USA Network wanted to do it. They wanted to have Vince bring back a whole bunch of old stars, people that were known when the ratings were still big. And when wrestling was still hot, even though there are circles where it is still hot. Sure, it isn't as hot as it was during the Monday Night War era or even Ruthless Aggression. The popularity and the ratings have kind of slid down, which is a real shame, even though there are some super talented people on the roster. Do not worry, I'm going to get to that. I'm not going to go over everything, minute detail on Raw Reunion, mainly because myself and the Durbinator covered that. And, we reviewed that in an entire, almost 30-minute review. So thank you guys, by the way, for about 300 views on that. It is really appreciated. And thank you so much for your channel support. But here are some things I'm going to focus on. So you go with the opening segment. I'm just going to give an example. So the opening segment was Cena, the Usos, Rikishi. This is fine. The tag match with the Revival and everything, that was fine. My main issue was the fact they slopped so many legends out there, and also they didn't address this. You got Alicia Fox backstage. And Alicia Fox was in a few segments. She was in a segment with Caitlyn, Dana Brooke, and then Santino was also there. And if there was somebody else there, I do apologize. Apparently, Alicia Fox has retired. She's no longer an in-ring competitor. Rumors. I don't know if these are actually true, but apparently that is the rumor floating around. Why didn't they make that announcement? Whether you're Alicia Fox's biggest fan or not. I've never been her biggest fan, but I'm not her biggest detractor at all. She'd been with the company since 2006. You couldn't just actually mention something like, her, oh, she's retired and she's here celebrating with the Raw crew or whatever. I mean, I know Alicia only had one title reign and she's been involved in some storylines that, quite frankly, were a bit embarrassing, mainly because they just used her like the 205 Live bicycle and all that stuff. What I'm saying is they made her into a whore and they shouldn't have. I mean, it was just kind of ridiculous. It was pointless. They didn't show off her skills in the ring. She could actually hit a pretty damn good Northern Lights suplex. A good axe kick. Actually, I would argue her Northern Lights suplex, as far as anybody currently in wrestling, that's really right up there. That's a pretty damn good move. But they didn't really do anything with her except the way she was dressed, it looks like she skinned a chandelier. And I'm not knocking her fashion, but that was a very bright outfit. Caitlyn, that's what they relegated her to. Okay, whatever. Dana really didn't gain anything from that. Now, once again, this is probably everything's just going to be reset once they come back to, when they come back to SmackDown tonight, but also when they come back to Raw next week, where, okay, we did the reunion thing, life goes on. But none of the women really benefited because it all went back to 2007, where they were in backstage segments or short matches, or matches that really didn't matter. And I'm not knocking the women. I'm talking from creative. They were like, oh, let's just put the women in a backstage segment or whatever. Let's just have the women do all this stuff or whatever. The women didn't even have a match. No woman had a match on this show. It was legend after legend after legend after legend after alleged legend. It's like Santino. Why the fuck was Santino there? Because Santino shouldn't have fucking been there, because he sure as fuck ain't a legend. I'm sorry. You guys can think that he's funny all you want. That's okay. But after some recent comments he made, and, generally colorful opinions on certain aspects of women in wrestling and other people in wrestling, I'm just going to have you Google his comments because I really don't want to repeat them here. They're pretty disgusting. Mainly because I think Santino, stroked his cobra one too many times and it's out of venom. But let's, now I have the Eminem Venom song stuck in my head. If you've seen the movie Venom, you know what I'm talking about. So, you do the typical party stuff and everything. You got people backstage. You got Mike and Maria. Mike has had his freaking nuts cut off on live TV twice. And you really should only do that once because it's really hard to sew them back on and then cut them off. And I don't really know what I'm saying anymore. This Mike Maria thing is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It's not doing anything for Maria. And I love Maria. I think Maria is great. I think Maria is very underappreciated during her first run in WWE. And there are others. Do not worry. I will get to them. But they were, it's like Mike and Maria, that whole thing, that was ridiculous. Eve was there. Okay, cool. I don't think Eve's going to get back in the ring, but Eve could. She's only, what, mid-30s? Hell, she could probably be 50 and get back in the ring if she really wanted to. But Bischoff was there. Okay, that's Bischoff's first on-camera appearance in WWE in a while. I think his last appearance might have been 2006? 2006 or 7. No, 2007. I think it was 2007. Yeah, it was actually, because it was in the lead up to WrestleMania 23. Okay, so they got a whole bunch of party people backstage. And then later, and Jillian Hall was also there. Jillian Hall, that's her first appearance on Raw since, in 8 years, 9 years, something like that. That's how, I think it was at least 8 years. 8 or 9, because it's been a while for her. That was the one that had the mole on her face, and that's how they thought to book somebody that was young, up and coming, and had worked well in Ohio Valley Wrestling. Oh, let's put a mole on her face and have Boogeyman bite it off, and that'll get her over, and it never did. And then she did a bad karaoke gimmick and everything. And Jillian Hall was actually a pretty talented wrestler. This is where it's going to devolve mostly into stuff about the women, because I like the fact that they featured most of the women there. I like the fact that they did. I kind of wish Victoria would have been there, mainly because, I mean, I know apparently, and this is what people told me, that her and the company are not on very good terms. That's a shame, because they brought back the Ultimate Warrior, and they brought back others and everything, but they can't bring back Victoria, somebody that was actually very underappreciated while she was there. Well, she was appreciated by a lot of fans, but I think a lot of people forgot how good she actually is, and was, both. I mean, I'm sure she could still go and wrestle, even though she's, I think, retiring after this year. But they could have brought Victoria back. Well, they didn't. And now I'm going to go to... then we go to the Samoa Joe thing, where Samoa Joe's like doing this. And I'm kind of going haphazard all over the place, because I forgot the format of the show. But you have Samoa Joe cutting a promo and everything, talking about, nostalgia, putting on your rose-tinted glasses, rose-colored glasses and all this. And then Roman Reigns comes out and beats him in a match. I'm sorry, but Joe and Reigns have Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns have no chemistry. They have none. It just doesn't fire at all, which is a shame, because they are two talented performers. But okay. So you got all this stuff going on with the women and stuff like that. And then let's go to the 24/7 title stuff. Okay, so Drake Maverick manages to beat up R-Truth, or not beat him up, but roll him up. It's the roll-up championship, the schoolboy championship. It's fucking ridiculous. But then Drake does a backstage thing with the Boogeyman. I like the Boogeyman, even if some people thought that the gimmick was goofy. It was the right kind of goofy, though. I think Boogie is pretty underappreciated. The guy's still he's in his mid-50s, and he probably could go out there and wrestle. I know he still does. But he could probably wrestle on Raw. They could have actually made this a lot more entertaining than they did, because they just threw a whole bunch of legends out thinking, here, legends, legends, legends. And that's pretty much all they did. And then Pat Patterson, and I'm going to dive into this a little bit more, Pat Patterson ends up taking advantage of Drake Maverick, a younger man, backstage in a prone position, because that's what Pat Patterson was known to do. Because Pat Patterson's a fucking creep. He's a fucking goddamn creep. And I don't care. Where there's smoke, there's fire with a lot of these rumors and everything. And you could ask Roddy, you could have found an interview about Roddy Piper when he talked about stuff about Pat Patterson or whatever. And Lord Alfred Hayes, who wasn't exactly the best guy either. Yeah, Pat Patterson did that. And then the 24/7 championship shit I hated. But then Gerald Briscoe pins a sleeping Pat Patterson during the commercial break. Kelly wins the championship. She wins the 24/7 championship. Kelly is a champion in 2019 WWE. Sami Zayn isn't a champion. And others weren't champion. Now, I'm not going to knock Kelly here. I've done that plenty in other videos. Whatever. They seemed happy with her back. She seemed happy to be back. Okay. I still don't think she was that good of a wrestler, but whatever. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. That doesn't mean she's a bad person. You want to get your hate in the comments, go ahead. I'm just a wrestling fan. I'm not telling you you can't feel differently. She means a lot to you, and that's great. So, we then get Kelly there with a whole bunch of other women. Naomi has been relegated to just being backstage noise at this point. I've never been Naomi's biggest fan either, but utilize the current women that you have and actually make use of your roster. Sarah Logan wasn't there. So many people that could have benefited from this kind of stuff wasn't there. Melina was there. That's Melina's first appearance on Raw since 2011. So about 8.5 years almost, because I think she was gone before WrestleMania 27, so it was about 8.5 years. She's a referee. Candice Michelle's there. Candice, who, developed into a pretty damn good wrestler, despite the fact they originally just hired her for her looks. I'm not knocking at all. Candice was strictly hired for her looks based on the whole Diva Search thing. But got in the ring, trained, and got to where she was actually a pretty decent performer. Had a pretty good feud with Beth Phoenix. Unfortunately, the injury bug bit her and did not let go. But you had that going, and Candice ends up pinning Kelly because Melina was training to be a referee and got her license as a referee. And then Candice Michelle's a 24/7 champion. Okay, cool. And then, Alundra Blaze, Medusa. I mean, I tend to call her Medusa because she was more famous as Medusa. She ends up choking out Candice and taking a 24/7 championship. Instead of being able to throw it in the trash later, Ted DiBiase buys it off her, and then Drake Maverick wins it. And then Drake Maverick wins it back, and then Truth wins it back later. So, okay, this is the stuff they did with the women. And then they had Natty and Becky on A Moment of Bliss. And Bliss and Nikki Cross are just there. And then Natty and Becky brawl. There is not one women's match on this entire show. And I'm sorry, the 24/7 stuff does not count as official matches. I'm not saying what the women did don't count. Those just weren't actual matches. They just weren't. None of the 24/7 shit means anything. Was it cool to see Candice with the championship in 2019? Absolutely. Was it cool to see Kelly with the championship in 2019? No, but whatever. Hey, hell, she seemed happy with it. Company was happy with it. Fine. Whatever. My point is that that's what you relegated the women to. And then you had Becky and Natty do a brawl on A Moment of Bliss. So you can find time for at least one 7-minute match with the women and maybe have a couple legends at ringside, that kind of stuff. And maybe you do your 24/7 stuff there. You couldn't have done that. But no, you relegated the women to backstage stuff or whatever. It is literally like we were back in 2007. This isn't how you use current women. This isn't how you use past women. Now, granted, they probably didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I'm not saying I wanted Candice or Kelly or other people to take bumps. But they could have done something where, it wouldn't have gotten over in front of the live crowd or whatever. Well, if they're watching the screen, why the fuck didn't they just sit at home? That's what I would be thinking. If I'm having to watch a screen, if I'm having to watch the big Titantron while I'm at a live event, why the fuck am I not just at home? I just don't fucking get. I just don't fucking get it at all. And then of course you got Hogan being cheered, which whatever. It just proves the Tampa Bay fans weren't very smart. I'm sorry. Look, if there are cool people in Tampa Bay, and I'm sure there are, if there are cool people from Tampa Bay watching my channel, if you guys cheered him, if you guys can forgive him for what he said, that's fine. I still think that the guy's only sorry he got caught. You know what? If Mark Henry apparently was not applauding when Hogan came out, which is good, because he shouldn't. Because Hogan, he's not the only wrestler and the only celebrity to make racist comments, make this kind of stuff, and for them to be leaked. But a lot of people that made those kind of comments at least apologized and then took the necessary steps to make up for it. Where, yes, there's no excuse for that kind of language, whether you said back in the 90s, like Jim Cornette did. And he did apologize for what he said and knew it was wrong and admitted it was wrong and did his best to apologize for it, even 25 years later on his podcast. I'm not excusing it because it was ridiculous. There are other people that have made plenty of racist stuff. Randy Orton, AJ Styles, have you seen some of their Twitter likes? They ain't exactly the nicest guys in the world. Shocking, Randy Orton's a racist. But we then get back to the stuff with Hogan and the whole celebration and everything, and Steve Austin got a bigger pop, and I bet you. And Karen, shout out to you because you pointed this out to me. I bet that aided Hogan. I bet it aided Hogan knowing that Steve Austin is more beloved. Yes, Hogan meant more to wrestling, especially in the 80s and even in the 90s. But Steve Austin outsold him on pay-per-views, merch, and all that stuff. But at a different time period, whatever. Of course, they're cheering Austin, and Austin, of course, is a wife beater. What I'm trying to say is wrestlers are not perfect. You pick and choose who you can support. My favorites, I'm sure had plenty of issues. Macho Man, he was intense, and there were allegations of stuff between him and Elizabeth. I don't know if it's true, but no one's perfect, is my point. But Hogan getting that kind of pop, whatever, it's more than he deserves at this point. He was not needed on this Raw reunion show. I'm sorry, he just wasn't. Now, do I get it? Big star, sure, okay. But then we go earlier in the show. The one good thing they did, even though I couldn't stop laughing at it, was the Foley Bray Wyatt thing. Okay, you use a legend to get an established talent over, or a talent you're trying to reestablish to get them over. That's what you do. Okay, that was cool. Couldn't help but laugh at what of the Bray Wyatt getup, but whatever. That's exactly what they should have been doing. I mean, not everything like that, but use the legends to get the current people over, because they didn't do that. They did not do that a lot. 24/7 stuff I put in a vacuum and everything. I'm happy for the women, especially Candice. And it's good that Melina was there on TV after 8.5 years. But then you get to the OC Club, or the OC, because apparently we were back on Fox a number of years ago. And that's AJ Styles, Gallows, and Anderson. They're the club. The logo's pretty cool. Everything else is pretty shit. So here's my goddamn point with this, though. They go out there, it's AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins. Club runs in, and then you have DX, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H appear there. They face off, and then the match is going again after the commercial break. And then you have Rollins and Styles do a DQ finish. And then DX is in there. And mind you, the club just got formed. Ricochet, nowhere near there. Didn't come out to help Seth Rollins at all. Didn't come out to be part of this or whatever and get at AJ Styles, who had just recently beat him for the U.S. title. And then you have Road Dogg, X-Pac, Hall and Nash. Billy Gunn couldn't be there because he's part of AEW. But this is almost as bad as what they did to the Revival at Raw 25. And it's funny that Raw, and actually I'll just finish this up and then I'll get to my point here. But with this did nothing for the club, the OC, whatever. This did nothing for them. It basically cut out the legs from I guess a reformed stable. They didn't look dominated. Oh wow, they can't take down a whole bunch of old guys. I mean, this has happened on a lot of wrestling events, but it's just stupid. It's just a stupid way to use new talent. And Seth Rollins, earlier before this, had cut a promo that was so goddamn bad, it was like his babyface run is dead. Seth Rollins' babyface run is dead. And I feel bad about saying that because I like Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins is a good talent. He maybe needs to be a little bit better on Twitter and take a little more criticism better. But whatever, I mean, we're all fans criticizing. But anyway, he did that promo that was so goddamn bad and then chased Heyman. And that's probably the most exercise Heyman's gotten in about 20 goddamn years. Need to get his dumb ass off TV for good. But anyway, Rollins then, I get to say the line that, says the Road Dogg says to him, oh, you want to say the line? I get to say the second line? I get to say the second line? It's like a fucking 8-year-old kid here. It was so goddamn stupid. Look, Star Trek, cool. You get to use legends, fine. You get a rating, fine. This did nothing besides the Bray Foley thing. This did nothing to help any new people. And here's how it's like Raw 25, except it wasn't in two separate venues, which was really so goddamn dumb. The Revival got buried, and a whole bunch of other people did not get utilized well. That was the go-home show for the 2018 Rumble. SummerSlam, their biggest pay-per-view of the year, besides WrestleMania, or second biggest pay-per-view of the year, is 20 days away, now 19 days away as we're recording this video. They have 3 matches announced. Rollins and Lesnar, Natty and Becky, Bayley and Ember Moon. And Charlotte will probably end up being added to that match because we know that Charlotte's going to be added. So let's just get ready for it. I'll get ready to rant on the review. But anyway, my whole point is, if you use legends right, you can actually help build some stuff for the future. This did nothing for the current roster. Whether the legends were told to go out there and be dominant or not, or whatever. I mean, Hogan barely did jobs for anybody without getting his win back. I mean, it's just what happened. You did have Lillian Garcia there. It was nice to see her back. You had some others. I mean, you had Godfather, whole bunch of people. It was nice to see some of the legends back. It was nice to see Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart is one of my favorite wrestling managers of all time. It would actually go Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, Jimmy Hart. It'd be those 3. And Bobby Heenan's number 1. Sorry. Bobby Heenan's number 1. He'll always be number 1. My whole point of this video is, I just wanted to get some of these frustrations out because a lot of this could have been avoided if they just would have formatted this better. because it was slopping so many legends in. It didn't do any good. Sami Zayn got buried when Slaughter, RVD, Kurt Angle, Hurricane came out, and then Ray beat Sami Zayn in like a few minutes. It wasn't about the wrestling, it was about nostalgia. But it's the most random Raw reunion thing. It's like Raw in July never meant all that much. Now, there was a match I forgot to review a couple weeks ago that happened, 25 years ago that day. The 1-2-3 Kid versus Bret Hart match was an absolutely incredible match. In fact, I might review that soon. I like looking back at nostalgia, but I've gotten to the point now at 38 years old, it's like, okay, you can keep looking back, but the more you undercut the current roster, the less they're going to mean when you need to do a reunion show in a number of years with these guys and these women. We're going to be like, well, why would we tune in for them? They couldn't even beat legends, that were before them. Why the hell should we care about that? And then the ratings will probably fall. And that's if a giant meteor doesn't hit us before that. But boy, this is getting dark. This is getting needlessly mean. There should have been a whole lot more positives with Raw Reunion. But especially for the women. And this is where I'm going to finish up. The women got 23, 25 minutes last week on Raw. I still say you should have thrown Sarah Logan and Dana Brooke in there, and you could have actually... It would have been a better flowing match. That's nothing against the women. It would have been a better flowing match and would have made better use of the 20-plus minutes. The crowd chanting, this is awful, you guys can piss off. Match may not have been that good, but you wanted more women's wrestling, and then you got it, and then you started shitting on it. And then you go to the SmackDown next day, and you got a whole bunch of segments with the women, and all the women on there, and they were involved in like segments where maybe the matches lasted 5 minutes. The longest one. And building storylines is fine. I'm not saying everything needs to be a 20-minute classic, but to finish up on all this, the women need to be utilized better, because then otherwise, why would women keep coming to WWE hoping to be bigger stars? They're just going to be coming for the money. It just did not serve the purpose it needed to. Now, 24/7 stuff, whatever. Happy to see Candice back. Kelly, couldn't care less. But hey, her fans are happy. That's all right. At least they used the Brave Foley thing and whatever. But it's just, I feel like they could have done so goddamn much better, and they didn't. But then they had the closing segment for the racist grandpa and the wife beater and a whole bunch of others. I didn't like it. And I pretty much just wanted to add, this is pretty much a companion piece to the Raw review, because I feel there was a lot more to dive into. So if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. And give me your opinions on this rant, and give me your opinions on the Raw review, and Raw Reunion overall. Do you feel it served a purpose? Do you feel it was good? Let me know. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Riplin. I will see you soon.